All right, welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and we've got a big game preview show for you, all stacking up all the games here this weekend, reacting a little bit of the rankings, and maybe some Heisman futures, some playoff futures, who would have some great value in there. And to do that, we bring in our guy, Mr. Ben Scott Stevens. Give him a follow on the Twitter machine at Ben Scott Stevens. Does such a great job for us each and every week. And Ben, like when you looked at the rankings, obviously heavy Big Ten and SEC in the top 10, Texas Tech being kind of the lone holdout plus Notre Dame. And as we see that and look at it, was there anything that stood out to you? Were there any like potential futures that you saw that like, wow, this team might have some value because they have a pathway to kind of get their way into the playoff, even though they might be on the fringe right now?
Yeah, Bobby, it's really interesting when you look at those rankings. I think the thing that stood out first and foremost is Miami, because they were the highest ranked ACC team in that projected 12-team bracket very early for the CFP. They would be in, but Miami's probably not going to play in the ACC championship game, let alone win said conference title. It's always funny in figuring out the formatting here in the 12-team era. In terms of value, where teams stand right now, I would look at this team right here in Oregon, continuing to play some big boy Big Ten football and being dominant in this conference and across the national landscape, with some value a little bit behind the top 5 teams in the country. And then Notre Dame at a 4-digit price as well. I believe both 15-1 as of last check. Both teams right now, I think, are trending in very positive directions. And the Irish, based on where they are ranked at number 9 in the country, present a lot of value, where Oregon is as well at number 8 in the land. They will be in the college football playoff. They are trending in a positive direction. And as we saw last year with both the Buckeyes and the Irish, if you are playing your best football at the most significant of times, you have a path to beat anybody to get to a national championship. So in terms of value, I would look at the Irish and the Ducks.
So you mentioned Miami. They play NC State this week. Next 2 weeks, and this is not unimportant because they played in the state of Florida, I think, all the way through like October.
Yeah.
Their next 2 games after this week, at Virginia Tech, at Pitt, both potentially cold and hazardous weather situations. I'm guessing that Miami's roster is comprised probably largely of South Florida and Florida guys. I don't know how they run the table here, and I can't envision a way for them to get in.
Bobby, it's really interesting as well. Even if Miami does run the table, they're still not likely to play in the ACC championship game. It is a must for the Canes to do that. NC State has been playing spoiler to their conference foes with the victories over Virginia in a non-conference game and the victory over Georgia Tech. But both those teams, the Wahoos and the Yellow Jackets, are in better position than that of Miami. The Canes have to win out, have to win their final 3 games, and it still might not be enough to get into the ACC championship. Now, you might say, if there is chaos around them, Miami being 15th in this second set of CFP rankings, would they be in position for an at-large berth? I'd say they'd be flirting with the fringe, but still their best path right now, based on what the committee has told us about the ACC and all the Big Ten and SEC teams and 2 Big 12 teams, 3 Big 12 teams in front of Miami with Utah at number 13. It's going to be very difficult for a 2-bid ACC if Miami can even be in consideration for one of those at-large berths to the college football playoff.
All right, I'm going to hit a game, and we're going to start in the Big Ten. You got a big one. Iowa just had that heartbreaking loss with Oregon at home in Kinnick. Everything that you wanted. I mean, Kirk Herbstreit almost called the exact same score, just opposite. It was all trending Iowa's way, and now they lost that. They go on the road. They're ranked. You got USC, who out-physicaled a kind of their brand physical Michigan team in the Coliseum.
Yep.
Iowa coming to town. I think it's like -6.5 going into that game. How do you see that shaking out?
Yeah, Schlegs, last week we talked about it as well, right? Iowa staying within the number, basically decided in a field goal game. We said it was going to be decided by 1 possession. Who would make the lack of mistakes? Who would not be the team putting the ball in harm's way or having costly penalties and turnovers? We thought Iowa was built for that game. It was actually the Hawkeyes with the fumbled snap or the bad snap on the punt that led to the safety and a 2-point margin, and a turnover from Caden Weegan when they were driving that led to an Oregon field goal. That was the difference. Iowa's still a very disciplined team, and this is going to look like Kinnick Stadium last Saturday, probably not as cold, but with downpours in Los Angeles on Saturday afternoon. The weather forecast in the Midwest in Iowa City, far better than that of downtown LA on Saturday. So USC is going to have to play some more big boy Big Ten football as they did at home, beating Michigan for the first ranked win in the Coliseum since Lincoln Riley's first year of 2022, looking for a second consecutive against a ranked opponent. We saw that for Southern Cal last week. They dominated Northwestern in a game where the Wildcats could present some of those issues. Iowa got dominated up front by the Ducks. Dan Lanning has built his team to be physical up front. Iowa allowed more than 7 yards per carry. They were limited to less than 2.5 yards per pop for what had been such a dynamic rushing offense this year. Ultimately, Schlegs, it's a very similar conversation to what we had last week. Who was ready to win that game in the trenches if the weather does not cooperate, as it does not seem like it is going to on Saturday in LA? I think Iowa stays within the number once again. USC has been great on the ground, and they will continue to need to be. But they did allow Northwestern better than 5 yards per carry. Some of the defensive improvements early in the year have started to vanquish for SC. I think Iowa gets back on track. And last week, everybody was picking the Hawkeyes to pull off the small outright upset. This week, not as much. I'd keep an eye on Iowa, rather, playing spoiler in the Coliseum on Saturday.
So going at noon, ABC, Ben, in the Midwest here. Notre Dame, whose schedule looks a little beefier now than maybe we thought towards the back end with, an undefeated Navy team or a one-loss Navy team that they were taking on. USC, who's looked better. And now Pitt, who is ranked. Pitt, the next 3 weeks, every team I was looking, I was like, man, they've got to play Pitt. They've got to play Pitt. And I'm like, well, man, Pitt's got to play all these teams. They've got Notre Dame. They've got Georgia Tech. They've got Miami. I mean, the road in the ACC goes through Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Notre Dame, almost a 2-touchdown favorite. Any chance for Pitt to maybe pull off an upset at home, even though they've been a little beaten up on the defensive side of the ball?
Here is the chance, Bobby, for the Panthers. It's one of the best rushing defenses in the country, just allowing a little bit more than 80 yards per game on average, third best in FBS college football. But where Pitt has been absolutely stifling is yards per carry. The only team in the country allowing fewer than 2.4 yards per pop on the ground. It's 2.39. Pitt has brought that physicality that we can often correlate with a Pat Narduzzi team. Now, the mantra and the mentality that Narduzzi shared early in the week about the importance of said game against the Irish, not how I would have framed things in this conversation, but I do believe in what Narduzzi is saying, and I believe Pittsburgh is going to be ready for this game. But being ready and making the plays when necessary against an Irish offense that still wants to construct things on the ground. Jeremiah Love has been berserk the last 5 games, averaging better than 129 yards per pop. He has scored a touchdown in every single game for the Irish outside of the opener against Miami. That is how Pittsburgh stays in the game. Can they slow down, not stop, but slow down that fighting Irish rushing attack and make C.J. Carr, who has looked great in his first year as that starter at the quarterback spot for the Irish, beat them in a difficult road environment? I think Notre Dame wins. I think Notre Dame wins by double digits. Can they get over the 11.5 or 12.5 point spread to cover by 2 touchdowns? That's the question. I really believe in what this Irish team has done. The 7 wins this season since the opening 2 losses of the year by an average margin of better than 26 points per game.
Gosh, it's pretty remarkable. Should be a fun one. And like you said, they want to pound the football at Notre Dame. Pitt, really good rush defense. They've got a trio of linebackers, and we'll see if those guys are all healthy and ultimately ready to go. Stay locked in here. We've got more with Ben as we break down some of the biggest games this week and some Heisman futures here coming up next. But first, a message from our friends at FanDuel. The NBA tip-off week, it's here. FanDuel, it's your home for live betting. So even if you missed the start of the game, you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has the live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine bets into an SGP. That's right, a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join because FanDuel, they're giving new customers $300 in bonus bets. Your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/bigplay to sign up today. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas and affiliation with the Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
Customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, play your game.
All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and we are here with our guy, Ben Scott Stevens, doing a great job breaking down all of the week's games and everything here. We got some Heisman odds coming up and playoff predictions, futures, all of it sitting there. Big game in the SEC, and it's really one that may be defining for Brent Venables. And they want to keep their hopes alive out there in Norman, Oklahoma. They're going to need to get a victory this week on the road against Alabama. Fairly tight line, and Alabama has struggled running the ball. Ben, that Oklahoma defense is aggressive. They can maybe get after Ty Simpson, who's been playing at a Heisman level. Can they force him to make enough mistakes to maybe pull this outright upset?
That's the question, Bobby, because Ty Simpson has not made many mistakes this year. In fact, Ty Simpson only has 1 interception and 21 touchdown passes so far this season for the Crimson Tide. Oklahoma is elite up front. They are one of the best defensive fronts in all of college football. But that's not necessarily the Crimson Tide's strength. Now, can they make Alabama one-dimensional and focus on Ty Simpson? Perhaps, but Oklahoma has done that in times past, even against Tennessee on Rocky Top. Joey Aguilar lit that up for more than 300 yards, but it did not result in a victory for the Volunteers. Ultimately, the question for me is not necessarily Alabama's offense versus that Sooners defense. It's on the opposite side. A bye week for OU entering this game. Of course, Alabama last week taking on LSU at home. How healthy is John Mateer? Opening month of the season, before the thumb injury against Auburn, he was playing at a Heisman caliber level, both with his right arm and utilizing the athleticism. In the game against the Vols, they were great on the ground. They have found something in how the backfield has worked with the freshman Xavier Robinson and the wheels of John Mateer. But can they open it up with that second dimension through the air now if that right thumb has had time to heal for Mateer? If so, against an Alabama defense that is allowing nearly 140 rushing yards per game, Oklahoma starts there and starts to light it up. We have not seen a Crimson Tide defense get tested quite by the likes of a John Mateer in quite some time. Again, they kind of held down Diego Pavia and Vandy, but they had more than 7 yards per carry. Missouri ran the football well with a mobile quarterback in Bo Pribula, averaging better than 5 yards per pop. The Alabama rush defense has improved, but that's going to be the biggest challenge. And for me, Bobby, it's more about Oklahoma's offense against that Alabama defense than vice versa.
Well, who are you picking?
I'm still going to expect Alabama to win the game.
Okay,
I think Alabama's a really good football team. I really trust in Kane Womack and how that defense has really improved up front for the Tide in their last 3 games.
All right, because I highlight all these things because you're my guy.
Yeah.
I was going to go to this conundrum of the ACC and the Big 12 and let you pick a game, but I'm not because of time. And I want you to go right to this one. Texas at Georgia. Yeah. Georgia favored. Texas starting to play a little bit better. Must win, right? You got OU at Alabama, Texas at Georgia. Mm-hmm. What do you got, Ben?
You said Texas is starting to play a little bit better. All right, I'll see it. They're top 10 in the country. This is the game that the offense that has struggled for the Longhorns really starts to rear its ugly head. Georgia wins this football game by at least a touchdown at home between the hedges. The key for UGA will be slowing down Arch Manning. Arch Manning had his best game of the year by far, especially against P4 foes, in the victory against Vandy a few weeks ago in Austin. 25 of 33, 328 through the air, 3 passing touchdowns. Outside of that, Arch Manning has not had a game against power conference competition with more than 200 yards and a 75% completion percentage or better. Georgia has struggled against the best quarterbacks. Joey Aguilar, Ty Simpson, Trinidad Chambliss have played well against this UGA secondary, but they're really good up front, and Texas cannot run the football. 5th worst rushing offense in the SEC. Alabama is the 3rd worst. I think Georgia wins. I think Georgia wins by at least a touchdown at home. Monitor the line. I expect it to start to go to UGA as the week progresses. If it doesn't, that should tell you something. I still think Georgia wins by at least a 7-point margin at home in Athens on Saturday.
So between those two teams, between Texas and Oklahoma, if you had to pick one team that you thought was more capable of pulling the upset, you would definitely say it's Oklahoma?
Yes, I would say it's Oklahoma because we are starting to see, at least we started to see, Bobby, against the Vols, that Ben Arbuckle offense with Whelan, Steele, Deal, and John Mateer, an additional week of health in the bye week to rest up and get ready. I think it's OU.
Wheeling, stealing, dealing, John Mateer. I mean, he might as well be Ric Flair out there, limo riding, kids stealing, everything else in between. Heisman futures. Let's wet our beak on this a little bit. You have any favorites out there? Are there someone that maybe has some value that's underrated? I know we're getting late in the year, so it's hard to find it.
Let me just make sure I double check the price on my man Haynes King, because despite the loss against NC State, he had more than 500 yards of total offense and at least 4 total touchdowns. And if Georgia Tech is going to win the ACC, which they still have a great chance of doing, and play in the college football playoff, that is going to bolster the resume. But it's 100-1. I said last week, Bobby, and I stick with it. I think it's a 2-quarterback race. I think it's Julian Sayin, and I think it's Fernando Mendoza. Mendoza had another Heisman moment. And this is still a narrative award, despite what the stats and the odds might say. Mendoza had that Heisman moment in the incredible touchdown grab by Omar Cooper Jr. last week in State College. Now, a lot of Ohio State fans let me know that because he has thrown a 4th-quarter interception in those road games and had to come back with his team tied or trailing should not be a boost to his Heisman profile. I get that. I understand. I just found this stat right before I came on the show, and I wanted to share it. Julian Sayin has 5 games this year as Ohio State's quarterback with at least 300 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a completion percentage at 78% or better. There have been 8 total such FBS games in 2025, and the Ohio State quarterback has 5 of those 8 already since offensive stats were fully tracked in 1995. Sayin's 5 games with at least 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 78% completion percentage or better are the most in a single season in FBS history. Already, Julian Sayin deserves all the credit and recognition that I think he is starting to get nationally, and I really think it's neck and neck between him and Mendoza for the Heisman Trophy.
All right, Ben, if you can hang around, we're going to keep you for one more segment. There's a couple little more nuggets. I want to get into this ACC, and I've got a great parlay opportunity that I think you might be interested in. I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Backer. That's BCKR.com. Premium fan gear. They've got Ohio State gear. They've got Oregon gear. They've got Texas, Georgia, all of the stuff you're looking for. It looks good. It feels even better. They founded on trying to make the best quality fan gear out there. That's BCKR.com. It's almost Christmas time. They make great gifts. The models look tremendous there. They're good-looking folks. It's the high-end skiing, fishing, golf, hunting gear that you like to wear. And right now, free shipping on everything. And if you use promo code all caps BOBBY at checkout, another 10% off. That's Backer, BCKR.com. Go check them out. We got more with Ben Scott Stevens coming up next. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. Phil, here with our guy, Ben Scott Stevenson. Looking ahead now,
Yeah.
it is week 10, 11 of college football. Basically, everyone's going to have 12. Yeah, everybody will have 3 games remaining. Some teams like Indiana are on a bye. They already have their 9 or 10 in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Could I interest you in this? The parlay you're talking about, I'm a big believer. I think Indiana and Ohio State are going to play in the Big Ten championship. I think the winner of that game, their quarterback, will subsequently win the Heisman Trophy. The parlay of a Julian Sayin, Ohio State, Heisman, Big Ten championship, or Mendoza, Indiana, Big Ten championship, Heisman candidate. I mean, how do we feel about that? I feel like that might be a way to juice a little value right there.
I don't know if you can combine all of those betting markets, but if you can, and maybe in the state of Ohio, there is a special that you can do that with, I like it. Ohio State already is the projected favorite. -140 money line. We're expecting this spread to be somewhere around 3.5, 4.5. I think it's out there on FanDuel what that hypothetical matchup would be in Indianapolis. And Bobby, I think it really is going to be decided like that. A couple of years ago, in the final ever Pac-12 championship game, at least for right now, it was Michael Penix Jr. versus Bo Nix. Nix entered as the Heisman Trophy favorite because of an efficient season and prolific production, much like Sayin is putting up in 2025. Oregon lost that game as a 9.5-point favorite. Nix did not look good. Boom. He was out of the Heisman Trophy race. Jaden Daniels ended up winning it. Michael Penix Jr., I believe, finishing runner-up. I do believe the game between Ohio State and IU in a Big Ten championship would serve much in the format of what you're mentioning. And if you have Ohio State laying a minus money price and you want Sayin, who has the second best Heisman Trophy number at +170, not a bad way of thinking about it.
Hey, I'm going to ask you this because there is all sorts of chaos going on. You have Arizona, Cincinnati this week, Virginia, Duke. So that's Big 12. Then I got ACC. Then I got that TCU, BYU game. Lay this out because a lot of this matters as to how many Big 12 teams that you could possibly get in. Texas Tech looks really good. Beat an undefeated BYU. Could they potentially get 2? Are we leading to maybe just a one-bid ACC Big 12? How does it shake out for you, Ben?
Yeah, Schlegs, it's going to be really interesting to see how that all works because BYU is still in pole position within the Big 12 to play Texas Tech again in the conference championship game because they have the win over Utah, as do the Red Raiders. Texas Tech is in prime position, not only just to win the Big 12. Bobby, you asked me earlier about value in the national championship odds. The Irish have gone down to 11-1. Oregon's 15-1. Texas Tech is legit. And I mean a true national championship caliber team that I think would have an opportunity if they steamroll their way through the Big 12 title to be one of those top 4 seeds at a 16-1 price. BYU still very much in that pole position, Schlegs, to play in the Big 12 championship game. If they were to lose this week, the odds never love the Cougs. They're only a 4.5-point favorite against TCU. Then they start to fall back. Utah can step up. I think it's going to be, ultimately, if Texas Tech wins the Big 12, I think either BYU or Utah suffering that third loss would take them out of consideration. BYU would only have 2 in total, but I think that would be the second loss against the best of the best would probably take them out of it. Not saying I agree with it, just saying that's the case. The ACC is in danger of only getting 1, and I know the chaos scenario was presented this week that everybody in the ACC could beat up on one another. Miami still does not win the conference championship game in the ACC. And somehow, some way, James Madison and USF, because it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions, not the 4 Power 4 and the highest ranked G5 were to replace the ACC. I don't see that happening, with the ACC very much in danger from the first 2 sets of rankings from the committee of only getting 1 team in, and it's probably just the conference champ.
It's wild because Miami, people were talking about them getting 2 in, Miami getting them regardless if they made it. They have another loss. I keep going back. The fact that they have to go up north, Ben, for 2 of their final 3 games against fairly quality opponents, and especially against Pitt, which could get a little dicey for them with everything going on right there. So I'm not sure exactly how that's all going to play out and what that will ultimately look like. And about the last minute, any value on Ole Miss? Because I think they're a team that they're going to get in, and I think that the roster is good enough to maybe make some moves.
Yes, they are certainly going to get in. If they do not get in, it would be a Florida loss like last year when they were a 12.5-point favorite and had no business losing such game. It would be a Lane Kiffin game they cannot afford. Ole Miss should get in because the schedule is very easy in their final few. I don't know, Bobby, if I love Ole Miss, even in an opening round matchup as an at-large team. It would be very much based on their opponent. I could see them into the quarters based on that first game. I still do not trust Ole Miss based on defense this year to really be a team that reaches the semifinals. Now, I was proven wrong against Oklahoma, but I think if you have a more dynamic offense than what OU was able to present that day with the banged-up John Mateer, then I still doubt Ole Miss. That's just my 2 cents. Again, they already proved me wrong once, and Trinidad Chambliss is that good to lead Ole Miss offensively to a victory, maybe even outright as a dog.
Ben, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, sir. Great job, as always. We'll talk again soon.
Talk to you guys next week. Have a great weekend.
You too, buddy.
Attention parents and athletes. Protect what matters most with Export Mouth Guards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export Mouth Guards are scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits, protecting your teeth and your brain. They feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber. They 3D print that bad boy right to your grill for more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication. Focusing on your game, not your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby to save 15% on your order today. Export, protect what matters most. We've got Lift It or Leave It on the Bobby Carpenter Show coming up next.
Passes up. He caught it. End zone. Touchdown.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, play your game.
All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. We got our headlines, and with that comes some Lift It or Leave It, Schlegs. I know you always like to get pumped up, so it's hard to not to lift it every single time. Here's one for you. The school. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if a lot of folks know this because they know that you're a great Ohio State Buckeye and you live in the great city of Columbus, Ohio, and you've coached there. You've got all these gold pants. You got 2 national championship rings to my one, for heaven's sake. But your wife is an Aggie, Schleich.
Yeah.
She went to Texas A&M. All right. She's the 12th woman down there. All right. She's running out on the field. Does she do the crazy stuff all down there and burn the cars?
She's a 2%er. She's a 2%er of nothing. Graduated in 3 years so she could marry this guy.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well,
I had that much going for me.
we could maybe flash a picture of what she actually married up there, not that
Oh,
guy.
God bless her. I mean, honestly, sainthood.
But
Married
Texas A&M, Schleich, do they have a realistic claim at the number 1 seed?
I mean, you could say it's a realistic claim. Anybody can say that they have a claim to this, and that's kind of the problem. And I think it goes back. I'm going to give you an example. The example is Boise. USF. As we talk about USF, they're ranked 24th. Who'd they beat? They beat a ranked Florida team, and they beat a ranked Boise State team. Like, that was at the very beginning of the year. Just like the strength of schedule for Ohio State, it's kind of predicated upon the other teams and what they do. You beat the number 1 team in the country week 1 in Texas. You beat a number 17 team, Illinois. At that time, could Washington have been ranked? Yes, 100% they could have. And then look at them now. Then you had Penn State. That was supposed to be the big noon matchup. They didn't live up to their expectations. And somehow that dramatically impacts this, as we go and talk about this. And you have the strength of schedule. Like, that's kind of where Ohio State, you would say, is lacking. I think based on Texas A&M, they're 15th. Ohio State's 41. Indiana is 33. And it's obviously heavily favored in the SEC as they continue to get ranked, even though some of them have 3 losses. And so here's my take on it. And I'm gonna leave it, Bob. It's a little bit of the eye test in watching these games of Indiana, Texas A&M, Ohio State, heck, even some of the rest of the SEC. Ohio State and Indiana have really handled their business. Now, the Penn State game on the road should not have came down to that through an interception. I mean, they were winning at halftime pretty handily. made some mistakes, but Ohio State week in and week out versus whomever has controlled that game start to finish. You weren't, even that Texas game, Bob, that you and I were present, it was 14-0 with 3 minutes to go in the football game. There was no reservation that they were not the better team on the field in any of these games. That's why I feel that they are number one in the country.
And it's interesting because, you look at A&M and you're like, okay, they're an SEC team, but they haven't played a schedule like Oklahoma or a schedule like Florida where they've had a lot of the best teams. I mean, they haven't played Bama. They don't play Bama. They haven't played Georgia. They don't play Georgia. Haven't played Tennessee. They don't play Tennessee. They haven't played Ole Miss. They don't play Ole Miss. Their big game at the end of the year is going to be Texas.
Yep.
And just like Ohio State will be playing Michigan. Now, you mentioned A&M. They've got a victory on the road, 1-point victory against Notre Dame. Good win. Number 9 team in the country. Ohio State beat Texas. They're the number 10 team in the country. It was at home. It was 14-0 with 5 minutes to go in the game. So they controlled that thing from start to finish. Both of these teams have had schedules that I feel like have kind of let them down a little bit. But Ohio State, I feel like, has been probably more dominant during that time. And I don't want to hear about Texas A&M being in the SEC because they've played a super soft schedule. When you start talking about it, like, it's not like Wisconsin. Wisconsin's played a crazy tough schedule in the Big Ten. Ohio State didn't get that schedule. And so you can only play who's on there. Both of these teams scheduled tough non-conference games with Texas and Notre Dame, so I give them credit for that. And then people pointed out, look at Indiana's tight victory over Penn State. I'm like, all right, well, there's teams that have won tight a lot. They haven't done that. They've controlled most of their games. So I'm going to leave this as well. I have seen enough of Texas Tech that I think they're a really good team. And I believe they're the most consistent team in the SEC. I don't know if they're the best. I think Bama might be the best now with where they're playing. But I think that if they make the SEC championship, which I believe they will, they should ultimately get one of the byes, win or lose, just like I think both of the Big Ten teams that get in, assuming Ohio State and Indiana hold serve. That would be your 4 byes. And then that would be it. And we
also Bob, remember Alabama. There's the whole thing. Alabama went to South Carolina, and that was extremely close, right?
Yeah.
And we saw the whole thing of, hey, they beat the preseason number 13 team. If we just went on the rankings of that, and that every team gets better.
Penn State was like the 1 or 2 preseason team.
They were number 2. They were number 2 preseason, right? So it's all good.
Illinois was ranked as high as 9th one time. Like that's what I'm saying. I mean, you bounce around and you can kind of look at this any which way. I think both the teams have had pretty good schedules, but they haven't been the toughest you're going to find. But they both looked really good and fairly consistent in that. All right, number 2. Yep. Texas and Oklahoma, both facing elimination games this weekend. If they lose, they're out of the playoffs. Each of those teams already have 2 losses. Oklahoma taking on Alabama, traveling to Tuscaloosa, and Texas traveling to Georgia to take on the Bulldogs.
So tough here, Bob. I think it kind of is, but it's also predicated upon a little bit of the ACC, the other, group of 5s, how that kind of shakes out. And does a 3-loss SEC team get in? Right now, let's look at it. Texas A&M, South Carolina, Samford, and Texas. That's what they got, guys. That's what they got. So you got 1 loss. Let's say they lose to Texas. They got 1. All right. Alabama. They got OU, Eastern Illinois, and then Auburn. Rivalry game. Okay. 8-2. Let's just throwing it out there. UGA. They got Texas this week. Then they got Charlotte and Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you got Ole Miss. They got 1 loss. They're sitting at 9-1.
They've got a good schedule. Yeah, Florida and then Mississippi State. Yeah.
Right? So the next one, and then you got Vandy. Now, Vandy, guess what, man? Like, Vandy, they lost to Alabama. They lost to Texas. That was a big one for them.
Yeah, but they've got Tennessee, I believe. That's their
They got UK and Tennessee.
Yeah. So Tennessee's pretty good. UK should be a win. So
that's why I'm saying, yes, this game is an elimination game.
I would say
because there's too many.
The one thing, though, I think you could see I think the ACC and Big 12 are probably only getting 1. I think the SEC has the potential to get 5. And the 5th and 6th ranked teams are Texas and Oklahoma. And to me, it comes down how much meat do you have left on that schedule as you're looking through this. And the thing with Texas is They've got A&M their last game, Schleiks.
Yep, exactly.
And so if you lose a tight one to Georgia, but upset the number 2 or 3 team in the country, the final game of the season, like unless there's a really compelling Big 12 or ACC team, I think they're probably going to give them the benefit of the doubt on that.
Then it goes back. Then the good thing for them too, Bob, is then it goes back to head-to-head competition.
Yeah.
And Texas beat OU in Red River.
And
Because
they
even
did.
if OU lost to Alabama, then they have Missouri, LSU, winnable games. But then it goes back to, all right, we're now both 9-3.
I even have this. If Oklahoma, let's say they went out, Texas loses this week, but then they beat A&M. A 9-3 Texas versus a 10-2 Oklahoma. That will be an intriguing argument for the committee when they look at that, because you mentioned the head-to-head, Schleiks, and you start looking at their quality of wins. They're kind of all fairly similar, and I don't know if they would want to say, hey, we value this one over that one, and maybe this is a little stronger. But the other thing is Texas, they can look at this, and this is part of why we have the committee and why we want to see the committee, is because the committee watches the games and they can look and say, well, Johnny Mateer had half a thumb when he was playing in that game. Like, they're a lot better now when he's healthy. If he was fully healthy, could he have won that game? Like, that's the stuff that we want people to watch. And when you see the game, like, man, Oklahoma's defense was playing really well. They had a 6-0 lead, I believe, at one point in the first half. And then the wheels started falling off a little bit because they couldn't move the football because they couldn't throw it. So as you like kind of look through that and try to figure all that out, that's the stuff that I always find interesting is how they're going to view that in the real time as they begin to move forward and try to hammer that out. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We've got some tailgate talk where we answer your questions coming up next. Maybe we'll dive in to a little more of this stuff as well. And I know there's one great question in here that we'll dive into about the Heisman stuff coming up next. So let's get rolling with that. Here, stay locked in on the Bobby Carpenter Show. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool and doesn't taste like I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and we got our tailgate talk where we answer your questions. And there was a great question we threw in here from Chaos Junkie earlier. And if you want to toss that up on the screen, Pat, Schleiks had in the chat. Will Bob let the chat choose his Heisman vote? I might lose my Heisman vote, I think, if I get that. I know Dan Lebatard did that with his Hall of Fame vote for baseball. I try to take it very seriously. I try to watch all of these games and talk through a lot of it and different players. And I always sit there the day after the conference championship games and just stare at my computer and I look at all this stuff and I've got it all pulled up and I'm like, okay, now it's time. And like I'm one of like 1,200 votes or 1,600 votes or whatever. There's a lot of people, but I've always wanted to do it, and so I try to treat it with the care of understanding, Schleiks, how life-changing that opportunity is, and try to remove my biases and anything that I have there with all of that. So it's hard. Like, there are times in the past where I've probably not had some Ohio State guys as high as maybe other people. And then there's times where I probably had them higher than other people because I've seen, I kind of understand what it is. I've been super high on Mendoza and Saying this year because I think they're both really stinking good. And for me, it's going to come down, hopefully, the tail of the tape. They can decide it for me with who plays best in that game. Now, Ty Simpson's been playing really well also. Love has looked really good up at Notre Dame. Jeremiah Smith, does he have a way to pop in there? Haynes King and Diego Pavia, could they put on some unbelievable performances? Yeah, I mean, there's a handful of the box of what I'm looking at. So you vote 1 to 3, and oh goodness, we'll see ultimately how that looks. Schleiks, you got any other questions, or is there anything else?
I have a question, Bob. Do you think that kind of like you have the MVP, right? So you got the Heisman that kind of goes through the championship games. Could you also have like an MVP of the playoffs? We don't have that.
That's
I
interesting.
think that's something else. And I'm going to tell the fans out there, when I was listening to you, Bob, one of the reasons that you take it so seriously is because you and I both played with a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
And you see the life change. And we also know Heisman Trophy winners, aka Archie Griffin, Eddie George, and who they are and their platform and what they've done with it. It is such a serious thing that I think that's why you appreciate it so much, and just to let it go into a chat. Though we truly appreciate all you guys.
Oh, I love it. And listen, I'll listen to any argument from anybody. Only a fool discounts wisdom in the advice of others. Now, you take it all into account, and maybe some you use more than other, but hey, that's all part of it. I know, Schlegs, you wanted to get some historic accuracy here. So,
but hey, I do want to put that on the table. That should have already been on the whiteboard with the monster. Why don't we have a college football playoff MVP just like you?
I like it.
Like
you know what? I'll throw that out there to the folks at the CFP when I talk to them. Like, I think that would be great. They do that kind of like I guess they do the MVPs and stuff every game as you go through it, at least for the bowls. And then you have like the national championship defensive player and offensive player and everything. But like doing an overall MVP, I don't think would be bad. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Because some guys have better games than others, right? And it might, you might play 4, you might play 3. Doesn't matter who was the one that made the most consistent impact over that entire stretch. Pretty cool. Anyway, let's go.
Sammy in the chat just said AJ finished 6th in Heisman voting. Will you reach out to him for his Heisman expertise? I don't know that that's factually accurate. I mean, I'll have to look at that. I'll have to pull that up here. Why don't you throw up the Julian stuff and let me see if I can confirm or deny that.
All right, go. Throw it up there, Pat. I'm trying to find it in my chat. All right, there it is. Julian saying, boom. Guys, listen. First FBS quarterback since 2008% completion, 9 starts. Go to the next one. It's amazing. I'm clicking this on my thing, and it's like not going. But guys, like this is what the dude's doing. And there's our guy, Colt McCoy. Joe Burrow's down there, not with an S. I say Colt McCoy. Why? Poncho. Check him out. Black Friday is coming up. Get all the flannels and pearl snaps you want. Anyways, there's a great country song about pearl snaps too. I forget who wrote it. But Julian's saying, guys, and I think some people were mentioning check down merchant, all these different things. The dude delivers the ball on the strike. I was watching a little thing from Zach Smith, and
people call him. They call him a check down merchant. Like, dude,
I saw it was kind of like, hey, this guy just does it. And here's the thing about Julian, and this is where I don't know if it's people that just don't understand ball, but his presence, guys, is different than Will Howard's. But he is just so calm, cool, and collective. He makes the difficult throws look easy. That's why when we watch these games, and I'm reflecting on Bob and myself or anybody that has coached football or played football at a high level, looks at it like, all right, you're on the far hash driving a ball 10 to 12 yards deep on the sideline and cover 3 on that guy. That's amazing. You're rolling out to your left, which is hard to turn your body, and delivering a strike 15, 17 yards downfield. Then you see the one in cover 2 with Jeremiah Smith, deep ball. He throws that from like the 45, the 47, 3 yards deep in the end zone on a rope. I mean, it's like, okay, that's a 50-yard throw on a rope. His downfield passing. Those numbers, I guarantee you, those are historic in and of themselves. And in every passing category, 0 to 9, 9 to 19, 20 plus, they should have another category of even 35 plus. He's beating Mendoza in all of them. The cool thing is it will all play itself out in a championship game as long as everybody handles their business, which is why not just I like the Buckeyes, I like IU and the fact that they're because of their head coach and their culture, they're going to stay locked in on the present, chop wood, carry water style.
All right, here we go. The Heisman Trophy results for voting in 2005. Number 1, Reggie Bush won it. Number 2, Vince Young. 3, Matt Leinart. 4, Brady Quinn. 5, Michael Robinson. And 6, number AJ Hawk.
Michael Robinson. I haven't heard that name. He had the biggest head, guys.
Yeah, he's on NFL Network.
I know. I'm not.
Emrod's the best. Emrod's the best.
He is awesome.
I love seeing him. He's a good dude. I forget where I caught up. They were doing some sideline stuff here for NBC. I think he does it too when Ohio State played him. It was great. Played a night game. It was great to see him. So hopefully he'll be back here for the UCLA game. Always love catching up with him, Rob. Great dude, and a lot of fun there. I saw another good question fired away at us. Emily from Go Bucks says, Michigan fans calling out Julian, saying he won't be able to throw the ball in the cold on November 29th. So that's real. I mean, he's a guy from Southern California. I will say this, though, like that's a big piece of why he's been here 2 years. You start to get acclimated to the cold. You throw the ball in the cold. I know that they've been going outside a little bit more, Schlegs, to make sure when it is cold. Like today, it's 55 degrees. It's beautiful. Tuesday, it was very chilly and very windy. And so you've got to work on that. You've got to practice driving the football so that you can obviously get better with all of those things and be able to improve it and make sure that when it does get cold, you're ready to go out there and do the things you need to do. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. Coming up next, we will wrap up the show. Schlegs on his parting thoughts, his side nuggets, and maybe we'll have one more tribute here on this Veterans Day week as we roll through it. Schlegs, you got plenty of time, so make sure you enjoy it and really explore the space next on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Passes up. He caught it. End zone. Touchdown.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, play your game.
All right, it is Veterans Week, and our guy Pat McAfee did an unbelievable job. Was down at Paris Island, which is the place all Marines train in the eastern half of the United States. He had the commander-in-chief on. People were giving him a lot of shade and a lot of hate, and it was awesome. So I don't know if you saw these people that couldn't even describe what a football looks like or tell me they're never going to watch my show again. He's like, good. It's like we had on the President of the United States, the commander-in-chief on Veterans Day. I would have had it for any of them. Go Bucks, what are we talking about? And Pat does an awesome job of supporting our troops and just an ultimate patriot. So I always defend Pat because he's an awesome guy, and I know how much he cares about college football, how much he cares about sports, how much he cares about people, and how much he loves this country and our servicemen and women. And one of the guys, Schlegs, back 2004, 21 years ago, we started growing our hair out, to honor this guy. And he's one of the ultimate veterans, one of the ultimate Americans who gave his life for our country, and unbelievable little tribute to him. So why don't you throw this up there, Pat? And Pat on Pat Tillman, and looking at this, the NFL star who gave up millions so he could serve his country.
Fired up for that. I have a patriotic bone to me, so I really emotionally, I actually let myself go for that.
Tell me about the game today's game. I'm not much exposed. That's okay. I understand you hit pretty hard. No, not me, different guy. Nice.
Tillman made a name for himself, first in Arizona with ASU football, and then stayed in town when he was drafted and played for our Arizona Cardinals.
After the September 11th attacks and at the peak of his NFL career, Pat Tillman walked away from a $3.6 million contract. He left the Arizona Cardinals to serve his country. In June of 2002, he and his brother Kevin enlisted in the U.S. Army. On April 22nd, 2004, the 27-year-old was on patrol just outside the village of Spira near the Pakistani border. At the time, military officials said he was killed by insurgents during an ambush. This even as accounts and evidence surfaced showing he was actually killed by friendly fire. About a month after his death, the Army announced.
And one of the best, man. And his death was obviously tragic and tough and terrible. What wasn't mentioned in there, Schleich, is he also turned down a $9 million. This was 20 years ago, so these numbers were big. He turned down a $9 million deal in free agency to come back for the Cardinals for a third of that, because that was his hometown and that was the team that had invested in him and had stayed with him. So unbelievable human being. And on this Veterans Week, shouldn't just get a day, should be every day.
Yeah.
Honoring Pat Tillman. Go for it, sir.
Yep. Every day is Veterans Day. And then to spice that up a little bit, let's look at the guys that are the silver bullets flying around. Go ahead, Pat. Throw it up there. Defense by the numbers. And I just think, okay, Pat skipped one. But hey, leave it there, Pat. Don't go yet. Don't go yet. Okay, you did. Number one total defense, number one scoring defense. There's a lot of top fives in there. Why do I say that? I brought this up first because they got a lot of players. Now go to the next one, Pat, because that's what it's about. That's why we really enjoyed having Matty P here, and that is because it's all about the players. Go ahead, hit that clip. It's not about the scheme.
Trish's perspective on fixing our defense this year and running an NFL-style defense.
I like to think that we're just running our Buckeye defense. I think that's what it is. I think it's the defense is what you guys make it. I told you before, it's not about scheme. It's not about the plays. It's about the players. And you guys are the ones that have allowed this defense to grow and really kind of be multiple and be what it is right now. So I think it's the Buckeyes defense. I guess for me, if people do ask about that, I just teach it like we did, just like in the NFL. I try to teach it from a conceptual standpoint for kind of the bigger picture and so that everyone understands, maybe the concepts of what we're trying to do so they can fit together in different ways. Maybe that's a little bit different than I think other coaches may coach, but, for me, it's the Buckeyes.
Yep, I love it. And that's the point. He said it's the Buckeye defense and it's the concepts. And he's growing and developing players. And he also said it was up to the players to the depth in which they can go in the defense, understanding that the fastest, most violent defense is the best defense. So why get super exotic? I can get as exotic as I want as long as the guys know fundamentally, right, and conceptually what we're trying to do, our strengths and weakness, while also, guys, this is where football acumen kicks in, while also understanding down and distance, situational football, field position, the chains, the clock, all the gaps, the depth of the run, all that stuff within that time frame to be able to go execute with great communication. Awesome to see.
It is, and it's all blended in there together. And that's what he talks about, teaching things from a conceptual standpoint. That's how you develop smart football players, and that's how you develop guys that understand the game. And I've never understood people that have been around the game all this time and guys that have played it. And I'm like, how do you not understand kind of what offenses are trying to do, what defenses are trying to do, and trying to figure that out? And, depending on where you played, obviously linebacker, you're living in the world of the run and the pass game. And some guys are maybe just living a little bit more in one versus the other. But understanding how and why people attack you, how and why to stop them, and going through all of those things, and just the why is the biggest important. And that's what the biggest part of it. And that's why Matty P tries to teach it like that on a conceptual basis. So you have guys that, hey, it's easy to make changes when you kind of know what everybody's doing. And I would encourage any coach out there to try to teach it like that to their players, teach it conceptually of what is going on and figuring all that out. So we appreciate it. We love the time. Thank you again to Ben Scott Stevens for joining us today. Thank you to everybody. Enjoy the games. It's going to be a fun one, and it's going to be a fun finale conclusion over the next couple of weeks as we plow towards December. So stay locked in here. Keep watching the Bobby Carpenter Show.